What's up, friends? I was vibing out there to start this up. It is Fantasy Pros, the football podcast. I'm Chris Welsh. That is Andrew Erickson. We are here for you for week one. We got waivers. We got trade answers for all of you guys, whatever questions you got. I couldn't think of a better way to start that up because I was absolutely vibing out, Erickson, to that. Is that music? The usual live stream music? I was just sitting back. Bop, 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 bop. Were you? I didn't see you dancing at all, though. So come on, it's week one, baby.
I was mesmerized by that music. I was vibing out. I think that's got to be new. Shout out to Sal for getting it set up. So I'm excited. I'm pumped. Waiver wire trade. Season hasn't started yet. We're already making moves. Let's make some more moves, Welsh. Let's go.
Let's do it. That's exactly what we're going to do. Welcome into officially week one. We have spent the entire offseason getting you guys prepared with all of our awesome Draft Wizard tools. It's time now to start moving it over to my playbook and to start moving it in to the actual games. And that's what we're going to do today. Load up your questions because that's what we're going to be doing for the next hour, answering your biggest questions going into week one. Waivers, trades, start and sit. We got you. Excited to do it. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us here on the live stream. Before we get this kicked off, Erickson is going to be giving us an early waiver wire look. Season hasn't even started, but it doesn't mean that you guys aren't looking at some waiver priorities. A lot of waiver priorities are going to start up on Wednesday. You've been maybe sitting with your team for a couple weeks without able to make moves. So Erickson, before we start getting to everybody's questions, we want to hear your top three waiver priorities going into week one.
Yeah, so starting with running backs, I think that's where I always try to collect the most players on my bench because you see their value boost the most when injuries happen. We're going to have 16 games played out this week, and there's going to be injuries, and most likely it would be at the running back position. So you got to make sure you're stashing these high upside running backs. So number one is Rico Dowdle, still available and looking like 42% of leagues from what I can see from the database that we're working with. So a lot of people just didn't draft Dowdle, but everything we've heard from Dallas Cowboys camp is this guy's going to be RB1. We'll see what that looks like when in week one when they play the Cleveland Browns, what the RB1 looks like in this version of the Cowboys offense. So I don't know what that means, but we're going to find out. And I can guarantee he's going to be added more after this week before it. So make sure he's not available on your waiver wire. The next guy here, a fan favorite of the Fantasy Pros, is Jaleel McLaughlin, another running back, backing up Javonte Williams. But I think he's going to have some standalone value. So he has similar upside in terms of you can use him potentially as a handcuff, but also if you're in a pinch, I think that he can provide a lot of value alongside Javonte, especially in full PPR format. So maybe his upside case isn't as attached as a player like a Dowdle, where he could probably take over that backfield. Don't envision that with McLaughlin, but if you need production, if you have really deep starting rosters where you need to fill in 2 flexes, 3 flexes, it's PPR, McLaughlin kind of fits off that role. And then the receiver that I like the most is Dontayvion Wicks. Again, another one of these fantasy sleeper favorites from Fantasy Pros, Wicks. I mean, no one knows how this Packers receiver room is going to shake out. They're playing the Eagles in Brazil. Who knows what could happen down in South America? So we could see Dontayvion Wicks show up to Brazil as the wide receiver 4, emerge and come back to the United States as the wide receiver 1. I don't know what's going to happen, but I want to make sure I have him at least on my bench stashed and ready to go. So those are like my 3 skill position players. Not a lot of tight ends I love necessarily because tight ends are really hard to predict anyway. So I want to see some of these guys play first, see how the pecking order is in the usage. Similar with quarterback as well. You're just looking at good matchups, players that have good matchups. I think like the most available quarterback in terms of having an easy schedule to start the year is Baker Mayfield. He's playing the Commanders week 1. So that's the biggest thing. When you're streaming quarterbacks, you want to look ahead to see who they're playing because when you have a bad matchup, you want to get rid of that guy. And then defense, I mean, it's the Seahawks. They play the Broncos and the Patriots first 2 weeks of the season. So that's my defense du jour the first 2 weeks of the season.
Love it. There you go. Top 3 waiver priorities from Erickson. I want to ask you one question before we get started. And it actually is something as you were talking, this person wrote, I asked this over on one of the shows we just did a tiny bit ago over on our Fantasy Pros Discord, fantasypros.com/chat, that we were talking about the Zach Moss news and that Zach Moss is put on the depth chart as the number 1. And that kind of got people going about Chase Brown. And there is the potential, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's the potential if you have any drafts coming up. I actually have a draft on Wednesday where you could start to see the potential ADPs of, let's say, a Chase Brown and Rico Dowdle swap, where Dowdle is now being pushed more as the number 1 and all that stupid Dalvin Cook stuff. And then Chase Brown not being on the number 1 on the depth chart has some people concerned, some people not. So I want to ask you, Chase Brown or Rico Dowdle going into week 1, who do you want?
Still Chase Brown for me. I don't care what these depth charts say. It could be an intern that's putting out the depth chart for all we know. And what is he supposed to do?
Season depth chart, that's fine. But week 1 depth chart isn't like, hey, we're having fun and we're putting, Brock Bowers is the 5th tight end on the roster. Week 1 depth chart's a little bit more sticky. No?
I mean,
you're being a little dismissive.
I don't know. I mean, why doesn't he get on the field? Why can't I see him play first? He hasn't been available to play. So I'm not over looking at look, he could have a great week 1. They are playing the Patriots. They are 10-point favorites at home, which is a game script that projects well for a player like a Zach Moss, where he falls in the end zone twice. Again, I'm not saying don't draft Zach Moss. I still rather have Chase Brown. And maybe this is an opportunity where we're going to look at back at week 1. Zach Moss is going to have a big week 1 because the game script really favors his skill set. But that's 1 week. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's the guy that you need to have. So again, it's a depth chart. I'm not going to be swayed either way. I think that Chase Brown is more explosive. I think that he's the better pass catcher. And those are the reasons why I like Chase Brown more than Zach Moss.
Okay. So, I mean, that, it's probably good to not let something at the very end affect you like that. And you should have had that idea of the investment into Chase Brown, that Zach Moss could be number 1 on the depth chart. And we're going to see what it is this week. But also the same thing with Rico Dowdle. Like, I think anybody that let Dalvin Cook affect how they were drafting him was kind of silly. But let's see what everybody else has to say. It's the Q&A. We're going to the listeners. That's what we're doing for the rest of the hour. So lock it in, because we have a ton of questions and hopefully we can get to yours. And how about right out the gates? Let's see. Our Peaver, drop McLaughlin for Dowdle in PPR. Who's the better long-term guy? Also did not want to be yelled at. May have already been yelled at by Debro in the chat, but would you drop McLaughlin for Dowdle in full PPR?
So yeah, I think this is a context question, because McLaughlin has more value right now, I think, but Dowdle has more upside potentially after week 1. So I think I'd rather have Dowdle if I don't need to start McLaughlin.
So wait, say that again. What did you say about McLaughlin at the time? You said he has more.
So I would feel more confident starting him this week than Dowdle, because I don't know what Dowdle's role is going to be. I feel confident what McLaughlin's role will be in the offense come week 1 alongside Javonte. But with Dowdle, he could take over this backfield. McLaughlin's not going to take over the Broncos backfield unless Javonte gets hurt. So that's how I'm trying to parse.
Yeah, but that's what confused me about how you said that. But don't you think that the lowest side of Dowdle is on the high side of what you would get out of McLaughlin? Like, I understand what you're saying. You're saying, like, I know what I'm going to get in McLaughlin, but it's limited. The downside of Dowdle isn't like 3 carries. Like, the downside looks like you would be ecstatic if you walked out of week 1 that McLaughlin got 12 carries and 2 targets, 2 catches, 14 touches. You'd be ecstatic for McLaughlin. That's the downside of Dowdle. So I guess I didn't follow with what you're saying. I think Dowdle's the answer on both sides. He can be the number 1 for the Cowboys for the season. And in week 1, he is the theoretical number 1, unless you feel that Denver is going to rush the ball 45 times and McLaughlin is going to get a higher share. I guess I just feel like Dowdle is the answer to both.
I guess my only concern with Dowdle is, what if he just gets in between the 20s carries and they're not using him in the red zone? They're using Zeke. They're not using him on third downs. He's not catching passes. Like McLaughlin, if you had to ask me who's going to catch more passes week 1, I would say McLaughlin. And because it's a full PPR, I think Dowdle might need to score a touchdown to outscore. That's what I'm saying. If this guy's on your bench and you just want the maximum amount of upside, then yes, it is clearly Rico Dowdle. But if you need production week 1, like, I have to start somebody this week, is it McLaughlin or Dowdle? Especially in full PPR, like, McLaughlin's probably a better bet to outscore Dowdle at least this week, just because there's so much unknown with Dowdle's role in this Cowboys offense.
Okay, I got you now. Next question up. Dan Marino laces out. Dan. Just watched that just literally the other day again. In Superflex PPR, I took Waddle over Olave after drafting Mahomes, Richardson, and Gibbs. Mistake or win?
I love Waddle, so I don't think it's a mistake.
No, drafting Waddle is always a positive. It's always a big win. So you did good. Michael, need help deciding which quarterback to drop. Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert, 12-team, half per touchdown, 6 points.
Trevor
half
Lawrence.
PPR.
You're
dropping
Herbert.
Herbert.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I'm always thinking optimistically who I want to start, not who I want to drop. But yeah.
No, but you're the Undertaker, though. You're the Undertaker guy. You should be in that mode a little bit. So yeah, is there been a bigger downfall from the quarterback position from ranks, let's say January to now, in Justin Herbert, from like the coaching change, maybe even a little bit further back, the coaching change, then into just getting hurt? Because I felt like there was a lot of optimism in the early onset of of fantasy football prep. And then it just has been dwindled away from Herbert going to maybe being a top 12 quarterback into barely touching and scratching that top 20.
Yeah, I was actually trying to see because I had released my rankings from January, comparing them to my rankings in September. And I'm looking to see what I actually had for quarterbacks and where I had Herbert ranked. But yeah, he's definitely fallen far from grace. Yeah, I had him quarterback 9 back in January.
Crazy.
QB 9, and now he is QB 17.
and I mean,
that's ECR. Like, that's in line with ECR. It's like 17. I'm not like higher. There's a lot of, it's like the 17 is because of the talent, right? Because everything else about the situation is not good.
And if I were like, hey, would you rather start Herbert or Baker Mayfield this weekend?
Oh yeah, this week it's probably Baker Mayfield who's playing the Commanders.
It's a disaster. It's just a huge downfall. I don't know what it does. All right, Michael, I have CMC in an 18 PPR league. Should I handcuff him at this point in the season when I have other viable RBs on my roster? He's got JT, Chris Brown, Brian Robinson Jr., Jaylen Warren, Zamir White. I guess he's insinuating, should he go and get Jordan Mason at the expense of one of those backs? I wouldn't. So. I don't think you can do that in that instant, because you're essentially putting an RB. Like, if you were to do one, it might be Jaylen Warren, but I just I don't think it makes enough sense unless you start to get, like, I understand there's a speculative, like, oh, CMC was hurt, didn't play in the preseason, blah, 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 to week 1. Unless there was something more concrete, I don't think I would be willing to do it. Maybe, if he gets taken out of a game or something like that, do it. But I think, and you obviously agree, correct?
Yeah.
It's a tough one. I've been drafting Jordan Mason all over the place, but that's just not the situation where I would do it. We're talking waivers here, my friends. So let's talk about the waiver assistant. You can see over on our right, we've got the My Playbook app. Yes, because My Playbook is going to be your key to this season. Waiver Assistant. Take the guesswork out of waiver wire decisions with Fantasy Pros Waiver Assistant. Maybe sometimes you can't get in the live streams. You're trying to get your question answered. Good thing we do have the Discord, but we also have Waiver Assistant for you all day, every day. Get instant analysis on potential moves from over 100 fantasy experts. Discover both the weekly and rest of season impact for every waiver ad. Visit fantasypros.com/myplaybook or download the Fantasy Pros My Playbook app to optimize your roster today. It's a phenomenal tool. Go and check that out, baby. All right, let's get to some more questions here. I have two 2.5 PPR, 14 keeper league, and my current keepers are Christian Watson, Rashad White, and Sam Laporta. The team wants both my 2s, and he will give me his 3. Puka will be drafted in the 7th round. What is the question? He's going to
2 second-round picks.
And why would he trade 2 2s to get a 3? Am I stupid? Am I saying that?
Let's see.
Guys, do you like me trading my 1 and my 3 to get a 5 next season?
Both my 2s, and he'll give me his 3.
Decode this for me.
Puka
maybe it's for Puka.
Round. I think.
Your wheels were.
My current keepers are Christian Watson, Rashad White, Laporta.
Awesome.
He wants to trade both his 2s.
And he'll give me a 3. I'm turning red. It's making me laugh. All right. I'm going to give you
a follow up with this question.
Yeah, follow up, but keep your 2s. Keep your 2s, not for the 3. I'd pay you for a burger tomorrow to eat one today. So that's happening here. Please do. All right, Brian. 16-man, 101, and only start 1 running back. CMC or CeeDee?
CMC.
Yeah. Always CMC. The answer is always CMC.
I mean, if CMC's playing, he's RB1. I'm worried about him lasting the entire year, but week 1, if he's out there, I'm starting him over pretty much everybody.
It's always CMC. All right, let's go to Charles here. Charles says 12 team, half PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, or 2 times the wide receiver running back flex, 1 tight end, 1 kicker, 1 defense, 4 bench spots. What are some tips or strategy for this type of league with shallow bench spots? So 12 team, low starter, I guess it's in there. Are you quicker? Well, I mean, if you have a tip, just throw it out there. But do you think in those leagues you're maybe quicker to the trigger finger as far as making moves and maybe implementing more streaming?
Probably not, actually. I think I want to do less streaming because, again, where you're streaming most of the time is tight ends and quarterbacks. But that sometimes gets you stuck into having 2 of those positions. But if you have an elite quarterback, an elite tight end, then you don't have to have another bench spot for another quarterback or tight end. You just start that same guy every single week, and you don't. And that way you can have more running backs and receivers. So I know I play in one league that's a shallow bench, and I've tried to do late round quarterback in that league, and it just doesn't seem to work because I'm always rostering too many quarterbacks. Then I have to cut guys I want because I need another quarterback to play. And I think it's better to have that elite tight, or at least try to get an elite tight end and elite quarterback. So that's what I would do.
You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like, I don't know if you play in these guillotine leagues. I've been playing in guillotine leagues for multiple years. The same conceptual thing with the guillotine league, where like you're very tempted when you get to your bench, where you're like, okay, hey, I want to get all the cool guys that are going to be good in 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, but you don't have to play for the future in a guillotine league, because every week players are hitting the roster because teams are eliminated. So you really want to hyper focus on making sure your starting lineup for the first couple weeks is important. So you'll have like defenses go a little bit higher. I prioritized high quarterback and tight end wherever. I think the lowest tight end I played 2 guillotine leagues. I think I have Mark Andrews and then Njoku in one. And then I think both of those leagues, I have Jalen Hurts and like another high-end quarterback. So maybe you can kind of similarly treat those the same, where you just want as good of starters at every moment and worry less about playing for the future. You know what I'm saying? Pokemon, got to catch them all. That's a great team name. How obsessed have you been? I've seen you've been nonstop tweeting about the name generator over on Fantasy Pros. Have you gotten any new good ones?
I really like Breeze's Pieces. That one's really good.
That
one's very clever. There was another one I thought that no, I haven't. I have to go through and like rename all my teams based on all the drafts once they're all completed. So
do you think we should do that in our Fantasy Pros league? Our content,
oh, yeah.
We should all have to have a name on the name generator.
I think it's fun. I mean, I think that your name should be reflective of the team. The thing that's bad is it's kind of, you make the team. Oh, actually, one of them that's very funny. That's also kind of relevant because we don't know where he is. It's not where's my car. It's where's my Jamar. Where's Jamar?
Okay, yeah.
Because we don't know where he is. He's not at practice. So
do you know what that movie is a reference to? Dude, where's my Jamar?
I mean, the movie itself.
Yes.
Do I know? Are you asking if I know the movie?
Do you know the movie?
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Give me one of the main actors.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I know it's a movie. I don't know the context of the movie itself.
Okay. All right.
I'm looking for their car at some point.
You know what? You did it. You got there. You did get there. I'm going to give you half a point for understanding the movie reference, but -2 for not knowing Ashton Kutcher or Stifler. I forgot Stifler's name. Michael something. All right. Back to Pokemon. Week 1, Waddle or Pickens for flex, 1 quarterback full PPR. Waddle. Yeah. Waddle. I mean, you want to say Pickens, but it's Waddle, right?
No, I don't want to say Pickens.
You don't?
Definitely Waddle. It's Dolphins, Jaguars, 50 points at least in that game.
Pickens number 1. I just want to. Abel says, would you trade Javonte Williams for Terry McLaurin?
You need a receiver.
Without context. We have no context.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those are fairly valued in terms of if you trade a running back, you should be getting a receiver of Terry McLaurin's level. So it's lateral to me in terms of are you getting value here? But if you need a receiver more than a running back, then I think it's fine.
I think it's right there. Another one of those, Calvin Ridley or Javonte Williams. I'm assuming this is going to be like a flex start question.
Javonte for me.
Ooh,
I want to use these running backs while they're not injured.
Before Jaleel takes over. Yeah, I'm going to go with Javonte too. I don't know. I feel like Calvin's being slept on a little bit. Like even his value never really even went up when Hopkins was kind of getting hurt. I know he's coming back, but I don't know. I think he's being slept on a little bit.
So just like an overarching point in my approach to week 1, usually it's better to lean on running backs more than receivers because receivers are more game flow dependent, whereas running backs, it's easier to project their touches and their distribution. So maybe they don't have as high as a ceiling, but really doesn't come with a floor. Like he's playing the Bears on the road with Will Levis. That could be disastrous in week 1. Whereas Javonte, okay, like he's going to get 10, 15 carries, going to catch some balls. Like that's going to give you points. Whereas Ridley could totally goose egg and then you're pulling your hair out. So.
Okay. And you don't want to do that. You look like Debro. Debro's got a good ball. Who do you think has the better bald head, by the way, Debro or Joey?
Well, Debro always wears a hat, so I don't know. I don't know what Debro's head looks like.
That's true. All right,
I've
so Joey by default.
He sleeps with a hat on.
Maybe there is hair under there. Maybe there's like a little thing, one of those little things. All right, Hello Ted says, got stuck with Noah Fant as my tight end 1. Should I trade Brian Thomas Jr. or Keon Coleman? Oh man, 2 of my favorite rookie wide receivers to put on the bench to go get Brock Bowers. What say you, Erickson?
I would trade Keon Coleman. I would do it. I love
Why
Brian
wouldn't you
Thomas,
trade? Why wouldn't you trade Brian Thomas?
because I like Brian Thomas more than Brock Bowers. But
You think he's going to be the number one and Keon Coleman won't?
I mean, Brian Thomas was a first round pick. Keon Coleman wasn't. So
That makes him better. Ooh.
it makes him. I mean, the NFL
Gives
thought
him
he
more
was
money.
better. The NFL thought I thought he was better too.
All right.
So when me and the NFL just gel like that, we both agree. Brian Thomas.
Okay, good. We got that down there. I would say that it's relatively even. I probably wouldn't care either way. I would probably lean Keon Coleman, I suppose, but I don't know. I think another one of those, like Keon Coleman's being the ADP never made sense to me. I just did all my shares between like best balls and the FFPC that we did and all my regular leagues. And I have a ton of shares of Keon Coleman. I'm heavily invested in Keon Coleman, but no offense, your top tight end, like Brock Bowers has a lot of breakout potential. Unfortunately, it might be a little bit slow setting, but if you're comfortable with it, do it. Bogman, that's his top share. So I would roll with that as well. James says, start CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson. I'm playing the guy I lost to in the last year's championship. And how do you have
I
an
was
option
literally about to
between
ask
those
the
two?
exact same thing. How do you have
Yeah.
both of them? Dude, you got to trade one of these guys or this is going to be your question every single week and you're never going to know the answer. I mean, they're playing against each other. I'm just going to play Richardson because he runs. And it's just the bar to pass for him to score fantasy points is just so much lower. CJ Stroud has to throw for 3 touchdowns, 300 passing yards, which he could definitely do against the Colts because their defense is not good. So you really can't go wrong here. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Richardson for me.
I'm going to go Stroud. That doesn't help. The one thing about Richardson, like what you're alluding to, is like the Houston defense might create a lot of good opportunities. The reason I want to go with Stroud, we played this new game on the podcast you guys want to listen to, Out of Bounds, that Piece of P and Bogman and I do. We called it the 3-1-1. You have to pick a 300-yard passer, a 100-yard rusher, and a 100 receiver. And you have to pair them together, and you have to hit all three. And mine was Stroud this week because I think Stroud is going to go ballistic. He's also the number one projected on Fantasy Pros week 1 projections as far as yards go. With all of those targets, I kind of think Tank Dell is going to go off as well. Multiple touchdowns. Maybe there's a little bit inside of me that's thinking of the preseason passing side of Richardson and what that's going to end up looking like. I do think the legs are going to keep him in it, but I lean Stroud, you lean Richardson. I guess that didn't really help you out. So I guess apologies there. We had a lot of Rico Dowdle questions are in here. Let's do this. Robbie says, I have Stevenson as my RB2. Should I trade Nabers, which is his wide receiver 4, for Ken Walker? This is full PPR. Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not for me either.
I can't trade Nabers. Even for Ken Walker. I think week 1, Ken Walker is in a really, really great situation. That would be one of those guys that I'd want on the 100-yard rusher side. But I just think at this point, moving off of Nabers, especially in PPR, like where he might shine even more. Like Nabers might be devoid of receiving touchdowns this year. This might be the thing that we look at. And our arguments for next season, Erickson, are, Nabers was XXX, blah, blah, blah. But positive touchdown regression is why he will be a wide receiver 1. Like he's going to get targets and he's going to have receptions, but the touchdowns might hold him back. So the difference between half PPR and full PPR might be a little bit more dramatic for Nabers than a lot of other receivers. All that to say, and maybe that almost sounds a little negative to him about wanting to trade off of him. I don't want to move off of Nabers in full PPR. He was one of my main targets, but Ken Walker is pretty enticing. But Ramondre Stevenson is an RB2. I've seen much worse. I've drafted, I think, much worse.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to get, he's the Patriots offense. So whether that's, being a big part of a bad offense is not ideal, but it's better than nothing. So
there you go. Well said. Aaron says Dowdle or Jaleel off of waivers. Says he can drop Palmer, Meyers, B-Rob, Hubbard, Singletary. Whew. Are you dropping any of those guys? And which one would you go for, Jaleel or Dowdle?
Dowdle and Meyers.
Yeah. Could you do it for any of the others? Because I don't think you could do it for, maybe Hubbard, but Hubbard, I like the long-term aspects of Dowdle, but Hubbard is going to be like a dude for the first month, but maybe Hubbard is the other one.
No, I want to keep Hubbard. I want to keep Hubbard.
Over Dowdle?
Receivers. No one is throwing them, and this is probably wrong, but nobody's jumping over bridges to have Jakobi Meyers on their team, whether that's right or wrong. I think that his ADP is super suppressed because nobody believes in this Raiders offense, and there's Adams, and there's Bowers, and they want to run the ball with Zamir White and do all these different things. So I just don't envision a scenario where if you drop Meyers, it's going to like bite you, and you could probably always get him back anyway, because I just don't think that he's an asset that people are trying to get pieces of. So that for me, I think I'd rather just have Dowdle and see how things play out.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather with Dowdle in there, and I think I agree on the dumping of the wide receivers. Like, if you could do it, maybe it is Hubbard, but either way. A lot of trade questions in the chat. Hopefully we get to all of them. Hopefully all of our shows can get to them. But if you're looking for that instant gratification and those instant answers, my friends, go and check out the Trade Analyzer over on My Playbook. It evaluates your trades with confidence using Fantasy Pros Trade Analyzer. Instantly see the impact of trades on your team, and you can get expert recommendations. Whether it's a 1-for-1 trade or a package deal for the league-winning stud, the Trade Analyzer is going to help you optimize your roster and make smarter decisions. Try the Trade Analyzer today at fantasypros.com/myplaybook, or go and download Fantasy Pros My Playbook app and dominate your league. Let's get back to dominating these questions, because we are we're going to try to go for a record and see how many that we can actually get to. Travis says, Curtis Samuel, J.K. Dobbins, or Dowdle in PPR. I'm assuming this is week 1.
J.K. Dobbins.
Ooh, I love me some Dobbins. I'm going to go Dowdle still, but I love me some Dobbins. See, like I think that's so interesting that you immediately go to Dobbins, because I think the same questions, but bigger, are that Chargers running back spot of like, what is the Gus Edwards to Dobbins thing going to look like? Like, I just feel like Dowdle's going to go out there and be the dude week 1. So I'm going to go Dowdle, but talk to me about why there's maybe more confidence in Dobbins' role than Dowdle's.
It's not as much confidence about the roles per se. It's about availability. How many weeks are you going to get to start Dobbins at all? He's healthy right now. I want to take advantage of the weeks that he's healthy right now, which maybe this could be his only week. We don't know, and I don't want to miss it. So that's why it's Dobbins for me.
All right. Raider fan in here. Go get the My Playbook Trade Analyzer. Hello, trade Burrow, Njoku, and Singletary to get Kyler Murray and Laporta in half PPR. Yes, please. Laporta?
Yeah. I think an underrated thing, too, is you get an extra roster spot. So even though it's a 3-for-2 trade, chances are you're going to add someone off the waiver wire that makes your roster even better. So anytime you can change, you can get an extra roster spot in a deal where you're spending more players and getting less players back. That's usually the move to make.
Yeah, and it's kind of trite at this point, but getting the best player in the deal tends to kind of like spark a little bit. I think you could easily cross off. You can cross off Kyler Murray to like, I'm a Burrow guy, but I think it's fair enough that you could cross Kyler Murray and him off. And then you look and you say, does Njoku and Singletary get Laporta? It shouldn't. So if you're getting that, it's a smash. It's a smash deal to get Laporta in that instance. So I think that's a great one. Bucks jumps in and says, start BTJ or Pollard in the flex. What say you?
BTJ for me.
Yes. Brian Thomas, I guess. Full PPR.
Look,
he said full PPR, right?
Yeah, I think so. Again, just going back to the point, receivers have higher ceilings than running backs. Running backs have safer floors. So if you want to shoot for the moon, you should start a rookie receiver in an offensive explosion game. But if you just want to lock in 10 points, Tony Pollard, because we know he's going to be in a split committee with Tajay Spears.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But we don't know what the ceiling is. Again, they're playing the Bears on the road. It's not a great matchup, at least on paper. So for me, I just love this matchup way too much, the Dolphins Jaguars. So I am chasing the upside, but I think that the optics of this particular matchup between the Dolphins and Jaguars, what Brian Thomas's role is during the preseason, it's enticing enough to me that I am confident pushing my chips in. And again, you are taking on the risk because he's a rookie making his first start in the NFL and he's a receiver. So that's kind of how you should view the situation.
No, it's a really good point too, because like there are so many of these running back situations. Even like I've been defensive of Dowdle here, but like, I mean, it feels like a third of the league. We're going in and we're like, all right, we're going to figure out what this means. Like, we don't know what like a third of the RB situations really are going to be. Like, we don't know what the share of Tajay Spears. Everyone made a big deal about Pollard in the first drive, but guess what? Pollard might not. Plenty of NFL teams will do this where they'll just play drives. You know, it might be Pollard drive 1, Tajay Spears drive 2, and then that is going to ultimately eat in, especially with where they are in the game. I think you kind of can play for the moon a little bit more with Brian Thomas. It was a good way that you put that. SH in the house got Najee and Deontay realistic trade targets for RBs in a standard half PPR. Well, it's not standard. Half PPR. I maybe mean standard roster construction. Got Tyreek, Wilson, London, RBs are White, Connor, Kincaid currently. So he wants to trade Najee and Deontay. You got a pretty good starting the lineup right now. I'm not sure I would be pressing. What do you think a realistic trade option for an RB would be if you're moving both Deontay and Najee in half PPR?
So they're trying to get one running back.
I think that's
Najee
how I'm
and
reading
Deontay.
this. Yeah.
Ken Walker, maybe. That's kind of the range I would. I mean, you're looking at the back end RB2s versus because that's where Najee is, but you have to kind of. I mean, you're only going to get like a small upgrade from Najee if you throw in Deontay.
Agreed. That's
anything,
the key.
Yeah. If anything, you may get something that from the market standpoint might actually be more lateral than an actual upgrade. You just have to throw in Deontay to appease the other person to get the deal actually done. So I'm just looking to see.
Well, it's funny, like Connor, like I was like, he has Connor, but like that would probably be like the guy that you would get.
I'm trying to look just real quick at my rankings to see of where I have Najee, and then kind of, but we can go to the next question, but I'll just briefly mention it.
We'll come back.
Up.
Next question. Zachary, tight end streamer, Taysom Hill or Dalton Schultz week 1?
Taysom Hill. Look, Taysom Hill to me is the discount George Kittle, where there's going to be boom weeks, but you just got to, there's going to be weeks where we don't know what's going on with Taysom Hill. So you just got to take your lumps. But the weeks that Taysom Hill spikes and has massive games, you're going to be happy you started him. And again, it's tight end. So even if he scores 0 points because they just decided to not use him 1 week, look at your opponent and see how many points their tight end scored. Oh, 3. Okay, I can survive this. So just that's something I would keep in mind. When it comes to the Najee conversation, so maybe Javonte Williams would be another name.
Like from an ECR standpoint, that's a downgrade off of where Najee was going above Javonte.
Okay. How about Dave Montgomery?
Yeah, and
you lock in the better, but you lock in such a better offense.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, like it's Najee Harris. We're not talking about. I mean, a couple years ago we were talking about Najee.
But let's also agree with every other question you stated. Like, hey, let's see what plays out. Why don't we see what the Arthur Smith situation plays out? Who wants to run the ball? Yet, to be fair, he wants to run it with a bunch of people, and we're all going to be pissed off this weekend when you've got Najee or Jaylen and Cordell Patterson brings it in from the 5. But like, we also kind of don't know what that's going to look like. So to be fair, I don't think you can get Ken Walker. I would move him instantly for Ken Walker with Deontay. But I'm assuming you can't. You might want to just play it out. You actually have pretty good depth. I don't think you're in dire straits to go and get another guy. But unless someone is going to give you a pay higher than what we mentioned, maybe hold it out. Maybe Najee has a big week, and maybe you can move off of him and get more trade equity. But yeah, Deontay doesn't have enough trade equity to be on top of Najee to like make someone go, oh, well, now I'll trade you Kyren Williams, who I'm a little worried about. Like, I don't think you can pull that off. Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Leave me hanging. All right. Let's see. Abel had one, I think, before. But should I start Curtis Samuel or Jayden Reed week 1? Jayden Reed. We don't even know like how comfortable Curtis is going to be like going into week 1.
He was injured too, so I don't
that's
even
what I'm
know
saying.
How healthy he is either.
Raiders fan, drop Josh Palmer for Wicks, half PPR, 12 team.
Good to keep Josh Palmer for now.
Yeah, I'd keep for now as well. But if Wicks is out there, you got to be going. Malik Nabers or Rashee Rice in half PPR.
I think you got to play Rice.
Oh, you think this is if this was a week 1? Oh man.
I mean, Rice's touchdown upside is
ridiculous.
Like so much higher than Nabers. Like again, like if it's full PPR, maybe it'd be different. But Rice, again, last year, guys, the dude was on an absolute look at his receptions prop. I mean, I'm looking at the props. It's at 6, right?
I know it was plus money at 5.5, by the way, for Rice.
But there's a reason it's that high.
Yeah,
because he's gonna get fed. like there's no Marquise Brown. Nabers, again, we're super excited to start him, but it's okay to, again, if you have extra guys, you can let the rookie prove it too. Again, Malik Nabers is gonna have a lot of weeks where he's very productive. So
Neighbors we might see Rashee Rice in there. Little quick plug for Friday. If you guys want to check it over on Betting Pros, Erickson and myself, we will be in the hot seat with Joe Pisapia holding down the fort, where we're going to be talking about our favorite props for the week. And me and Erickson did that. I think I came in like halfway through the season last year, but we have a blast and we're going to be doing a few new things. So come in and hang out for our bets as the Undertaker. How many unders do you think you're going to do for that show already?
For the prop show, probably
for week one. No, week one. Are you going to go hard on under? I feel like I have to wait.
I mean, I haven't looked at the full board yet. I did Thursday's game, so I kind of overviewed that. I already have a ladder bet I want for Thursday night football.
Ooh,
and then
is the ladder bet Xavier Worthy receiving yards?
100%.
I know it. My boy. I knew it was. What's the prop at? Is it like
it's like 47.5?
What are you gonna go to? Like 70?
Probably just do 100. Might as well. That's a nice ring to
ladder bet. Ladder bet. All right, go over to Betting Pros. We're gonna have just a killer year, Monday through Friday shows, and you get to catch me and Erickson every Friday. All right, back to it. Cheap plug there. Wolfgang. Jamar Chase drafters, are we cooked? Please say no. He is the only holdout. No 49er holdouts anymore. Just Jamar Chase. He's the only one. Do you think the golf clap? PA? Nobody cares. Jamar Chase, are you worried about it on Tuesday before the games start up at all?
No.
You're not even worried like at all?
I just think that, again, we're worried until he signs. He's not gonna not play this entire season. He's gonna play. So I mean,
okay. You don't think the loss of week one is concerning, even that? Well,
let me spin it to you this way. Where was CeeDee Lamb in the receiver ranks after the first 6 weeks of the year? Wasn't ranked that high. And then he was the wide receiver one the rest of the way, and it didn't matter. So, again, if you still have your drafts, you can trade for Jamar Chase right now. If you've already drafted, people are freaking out. Again, if he misses week one, what are you going to do? Oh, you have your entire roster to deal with that issue. You've never been more prepared for a week one holdout potentially with Jamar Chase than you are this week, because all your guys are healthy. So I think, again, they don't need him to beat the Patriots. Okay. That's pretty clear. They don't need it. I mean, the line is already 10 and we still know if Jamar Chase is going to play, but they need him to beat the Chiefs in week 2. So I think he'll be there for week 2.
I'm going to revisit this, and you guys can come and check out and see what it said even before it airs over on our Discord. Come over and check us out, fantasypros.com/chat, where we have an incredible community, which also has podcast recording in it. It's an awesome thing that we've done. You can chat with other fans and get access to exclusive AMAs that end up being on the podcast feed. Our schedule, I just finished before we did this, even though it's usually Mondays. Joe Pisapia, myself, and Scott Bogman, Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern for Out of Bounds shows, interactive with everybody. You can get it before it airs and be a part of the audience. On the third Tuesday of each month, you can get Fitz and Bogman doing some Dynasty talk. I believe that's 2 p.m. Eastern as well on Thursdays or Tuesdays. And then Erickson and myself, we are Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern every single week for the extra point. I'm going to check back in with you this Thursday because that's what I want to see, what you have to say. So come and check us out today, fantasypros.com/chat. You can join for free, be a part of all the great stuff, or you can upgrade to premium and have access to everything. Number one community out there in the fantasy football landscape. But yes, Erickson, we will see what level of concern you might have on Thursday when this is happening. Because I'm a little bit concerned when the guys, in street clothes, not doing anything on Tuesday. Because Trent Williams is not anymore. He's all signed up, baby. He's all signed up and ready to block the Jets. Let's get to some more questions. Should I trade or hold Malik Nabers? Is Daniel Jones going to get it done? I think we're not
you should hold
doing anything with Malik Nabers. Yeah, you drafted him. You should have figured that question out before you drafted him. Not to be like snarky, but RB2 spot, Dobbins, Rico, or Blake Corum?
Dobbins.
I'm going to still go Rico. So Corum, get out of here. No Corum for us. Sit one. Marv Jr., Devontae Adams, Nico, or Nabers? This is a two-man league.
I'm a two-man league.
I mean, why do you have all those guys?
I'm sitting Marv, man.
You're going to sit over Nate? I mean, because what?
I mean, like, make the argument. Why is that? Again, like, I get why you're like, oh, no. But then you look at the options and like, well, that kind of makes sense. Like, What do you want me to do?
I don't think you can sit Marv.
So you're gonna sit then? You're gonna sit? You gonna sit Devontae Adams and is a billion targets that are coming?
I probably got to sit Nabers in week 1. I mean, because like Daniel Jones is like hands down the worst quarterback, maybe in the league, but like of these the receivers, Daniel Jones or Gardner Minshew.
I mean, Gardner Minshew was. I mean, he's gonna get Devontae target. So you're gonna sit Devontae then?
No, I'm gonna sit Nabers. My point is like, give me the worst quarterback. Maybe you want to say Gardner, but there is equally as bad Daniel Jones and Gardner Minshew. Devontae Adams is a proven ball hawk. We know exactly what we're gonna get out of him. You get the ball in the general vicinity, and he's gonna get it in. We really just don't know exactly what that's to look like from Nabers, and can he catch balls that are thrown at his ankles all day?
Well,
long?
I just think Nabers is gonna get more volume than Marvin is in week 1.
What, you think McBride is gonna just dominate?
I don't know what Marv's going to do. There's more competition for targets in Arizona than there is in the Giants. The Giants can't move the ball without Nabers getting involved. Agree or disagree?
Say it again.
The Giants can't move the ball offensively without getting Nabers involved. Agree or disagree?
Yeah. Okay. Agree. I would agree with that.
Can the Cardinals move the ball without Marvin Harrison? Agree or disagree?
Yeah, they can.
Okay. That's what I mean. I think that Nabers has a higher floor.
Will the Giants move the ball at all?
I mean, if he gets 10 targets and catches 0 of them, then I will take every L out there, okay? But like, if he's going to see double-digit targets.
10 targets for 4 catches because they're not catchable balls for 45. I don't want to be like negative about Nabers. I actually wish, I don't know if one of our guys can do it. We have like 15 minutes left in the stream. That would be a great question. Who do you like better this week, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Nabers? I'd love to know what people think, because like I would go with Marvin over Malik Nabers, but it's valid.
Nabers is also playing the Vikings, who have no corners left. They're all dead. They're not all dead, but like they're all, cooked. They're not great. So
yeah, exactly. Trade Hollywood Brown for Khalil Shakir.
Hollywood Brown.
I struggle with that last name, Shakir.
I'm just.
It says pull, but I think that means full PPR.
I think for me, pull. I think for me, it's Shakir. I don't know. Hollywood Brown. He's already banged up again. I get that I don't know. I feel like he's kind of going. I don't want to like compare him to Juju, but I feel like he's going down that weird path where he keeps getting injured and we keep giving him excuses, and then eventually he just kind of washes out, and we're like, what happened? He's only on a 1-year deal, so I don't know. I think I'd rather take the upside with. I think right now, like you have more to gain with getting Shakir, because week 1 comes. What if Shakir leads the team in targets?
He could be the number 1. He could be the theoretical number 1.
That gives you more to work with. Whereas Hollywood Brown, all you're going to see is Xavier Worthy go off and be like, well, Marquise Brown's not going to do anything on this offense now. So, yeah, I would just take the healthy guy at this point.
By the way, got to shout out the audience. We have a ridiculous number of live people that are hanging. And like, I've been scrolling for a minute to even get to the bottom of the questions. We've got shout out to our boy Sal, who's helping running the show and stuff like that. You guys are killing it. And hopefully you guys continue to keep killing it all season long. Just awesome amount of questions. I'm like baffled by it. I literally was like, keep going. All right. Trade Hubbard for Ford, 12-team PPR.
I think it's a toss-up. I think that if you don't need the Hubbard early season production as much, because I think Ford probably has more runway for the rest of the year, because even when Chubbs comes back, I'd assume that Ford will still have some type of role versus, and I think Ford, him fending off a torn ACL Nick Chubb versus Hubbard fending off a rookie running back that the Panthers are really excited about, I think it's probably easier for Ford to like have value throughout the year versus Hubbard. So unless you need to start Hubbard, who I do prefer just to kind of open the year, I think Ford is probably the guy you'd rather have.
Easy one for me. Yeah, I mean, like
you could have just said that. You could have just Erickson, stop. Easy.
I just wanted you to keep going. I'm just saying, like Jonathan Brooks feels like week 6 rolls around and like we just have a completely different tune about that offense. We might not see Chubb till like week 8. Like that's what's being thrown out there. Like Ford, you kind of said it. Like he has a theoretical like runway to like have a full half season as like the main back for a pretty crappy offense. 2 really garbage offenses. Cooper Kupp or Drake London. I'm guessing this is week 1.
Drake London.
Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp's going to go off this week. I think he's going to prove all the naysayers, the doubters.
I don't think there are any naysayers left. Have you seen him?
There are. They exist.
I'm one of them, but
oh yeah, you are. But no, what is this? Are you talking about his last week ADP? Because his ADP has pushed outside the top 20 for a long time. The last 2 weeks, he's pushed around wide receiver 11 or 12. Like what was his ECR as we're about to end out the pre-draft season? I don't have it in front of me.
He's definitely in the top 20. I mean, the things that I've seen have
So you think top 20 is too much?
This guy, he has literally not been available the last 2 seasons at all. And
Cool.
we're all just, forgive him, forget. And now we're seeing so many Cup over Puka Nacua. Oh, Nakua's not even the number 1 anymore. It's Cup. And Nakua's washed. Nakua just had the best rookie season ever, but it doesn't matter. We're going to take this 31-year-old receiver. Look, I think, like you have to, again, like how many weeks are you going to get if Cooper Kupp healthy? You have to play him this week if you have him. And if where you draft him, you're probably starting him anyway. But I think I'd rather take the upside with London, see how that Falcons offense shakes out in the Arthur Smith revenge game.
We need to have like a roster of like Erickson versus Welsh team. Like I get Harrison, you get Nabers, and then
all I know is
I take Cup
for all the week 1 victory laps.
I mean, that's going to be
the most fun.
It's going to be hard to deal with. Like we're going to have like, especially like we're not going to be a part of the live streams, or I think you might have one, but it's like Joe and Debro, like the week 2 from week 1 victory lapping.
I never quite recovered from my 2 years ago, my Gabe Davis week 1 victory lap.
Gabe Davis. Can you imagine victory lapping Gabe Davis?
This legit happens though, where week 1, and that's why, again, I'll talk about this on the trade show that we do this week, but man, like week after week 1, that's when I think you should be the most aggressive with trades, because what we just saw, everyone believes is cement, cannot be changed whatsoever. And again, there are some things that will carry over into the regular season, but I think if you make enough trades after week 1, I think you'll come out more in the green than you will losing out on certain values on certain players.
All right, we're gonna go into some lightning round. We're gonna just try to do some picks
lightning,
here
baby.
that's good for the last, so we can get as many questions as we can. Like I said, you guys have absolutely murdered it. So shout out to you guys. Love you all. Let's get to these questions. And boom, start to sit to Rice, DJ Moore, Pittman, Olave. So just start to, not sit to.
Starting Rice. Going to start. Well, who are my highest ranked guys?
I think you're going to start Pittman and Olave. Oh, really? Over Pittman? Against Houston? You just said Anthony Richardson's your top quarterback over CJ Stroud.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got to check the ranks. So, yeah, it's Pittman and
Rice. It's not lightning round Erickson.
I'm sorry. I got to look at the ranks, man. I don't.
What did your gut
gospel yet?
Rice and Olave, though.
Man, I really feel like this guy can't go wrong with any of these.
I kind of agree.
I mean, they're all good receivers. I mean, I guess I have Pittman and Olave ranked highest now that I'm looking at it again. But like the way that I'm saying, the way that I threw out so many different names is I'm not real. Again, we don't know what these defenses are necessarily going to do.
Yeah,
it's a lot of projections. So I think you're fine if you just draft the guys you took highest. If you really don't have a lean either way. And again,
DJ Moore was the guy that we left out, though. So the other 3 are probably the big decision.
Yeah, I guess what I would do is I would try to play it safe when you're projecting out players for this week. Like we've seen Rice with Mahomes. We've seen him be the leading target receiver on that Chiefs offense. So you feel pretty safe playing Rice. Rice is going to go out and get you 0 points. Whereas DJ Moore, okay, what if Caleb Williams really loves Odunze and Keenan Allen this week? Oh no. Yeah. And then you're taking a 0. So I would just try to avoid the unnecessary zeros if you can, and just try to play it safe in week 1.
I'm also with you, by the way. I want to point out, like, I think Rice and Pittman were the ones that were the I was kind of like hyper focused on. So, all right, let's get to the fast ones. Kyron or Corum? Come on, it's Kyron.
Kyron.
Yeah, it's not even close. Should I stick with Goddard or take the risk with Taysom? If I can speak.
Probably just play Goddard.
I play Goddard as well. I mean, like boom or bust. Like if you have a good option, Taysom's interesting. We just don't quite know yet. Week 1, start sit full PPR. Debo or Rashee Rice?
Debo.
I think that one's tougher. Are you going to have Sauce on Debo, or is Sauce going to be on Ayuk? Debo's going to get to do his thing.
They're gonna put Sauce on fat Ayuk.
Fat, he does look kind of big. He looks like
I mean, look, it's no one's gonna be surprised if Ayuk has a bad week 1 game after you miss the entire preseason. Like, I don't think you should be shocked if that happens. And
I think Debo is gonna dominate.
Yeah, and Debo fits that matchup better. He's gonna get scheme touches against the Jets, and they're gonna
10 touches minimum.
I think they might just tell Ayuk, hey, Ayuk, this isn't your game. Just go out, do some cardio, get your legs underneath you, and just don't
Eat a
complain.
salad.
Don't complain when you don't get any targets.
Get on the elliptical. I see where you're going with that. Should I trade Debo for Terry McLaurin? No.
No, I'd wait. I think you can get more for Debo after week 1, probably.
Start Jaylen Warren or Zach Moss?
Well, I do want to see if Jaylen Warren is fully healthy. So again, playing it safe. Look, Zach Moss, again, if he's RB1 according to the depth chart, again, even before this depth chart came out, he's playing the Patriots and they're 10-point favorites at home. This is the perfect game script for Zach Moss to be productive. So if you have Zach Moss and you can start him this week, this might be the best week he has all year. So
also goal line opportunities seem likely for Zach Moss here. So I would go with Zach Moss over Jaylen Warren. Already answered that. With Hollywood Brown out, Worthy in the flex or Mostert?
Oh, man. See, my heart says Worthy, but I mean, you probably should start Mostert.
But my mind said I'm going to go with Mostert too.
I think Mostert's probably the smart play, but I'm a sicko and I'm going to start Worthy.
You are a sicko. Stash McLaughlin or Dobbins in PPR?
Stash.
Ooh, Dobby for me. I'm big Dobby.
Stash Dobby.
Okay. Let's see. Zach Flowers or Rashee Rice?
Going Rice here. Yeah.
Definitely.
Zay is another player where, we haven't really seen him have a massive role in this offense when Mark Andrews has been healthy. So it's another one of these, hey, prove it to me first. Like, show me that you can still be the alpha with Mark Andrews healthy. And Rice, we've already seen Marquise Brown's not playing. And Xavier Worthy, I'm excited because of the big plays, not necessarily because he's going to soak up a ton of volume. So, yeah, I think that Rice is the play.
Derek says, what's up, fellas? Full PPR, need 2 for flex spots. Terry McLaurin, Higgins, Dell, Godwin, and thanks in advance. You got it, buddy. So you got to start 2. Terry McLaurin, and I'm going to go Dell. And that might not be... I really feel like week 1 comfortability with Stroud in an offense where he's projected for the top in passing yards. I think Dell is going to find his spots. I'm going to go a little bit out on a limb with Dell, but definitely Terry McLaurin, sitting Higgins and sitting Godwin. Godwin one I don't love sitting either, but what say you?
I want to start Higgins because
with McLaurin,
what if Chase doesn't play, number 1, and Higgins has been the number 1 guy when Chase has missed time. So I would start Higgins because I think he could have a big game if Chase plays on the snap count, whatever. And then probably Dell for me would be the other guy.
Really? So you'd sit McLaurin?
Again, going back to first game with the rookie quarterback on the road. So again, every receiver we can always make the upside argument for, right? Every receiver we can do it. It's really easy, but this is how you get caught with bad plays. And it's just, hey, play it safe this week. Let your opponents take the big risks. Let your opponents play Xavier Worthy in their flex.
Yeah.
Me.
Well, we both got Tank. Here's a good, since this is kind of in the vein of preparation for your week 1 waivers, whatever that really looks like. Corum was dropped in my league already. I have Kyron. How much fab out of 1,000? We can just use percentages. Should I spend pre-week 1 to pick up Corum? He has Jacobs, Kamara, Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler as well. So what are you doing? You got Kyron here. Are you prioritizing getting Blake Corum, and what's the percentage instead of being like 400 and just say 30% or whatever? So what percentage would you use if you're picking up Corum?
Probably do 25%, and I probably didn't drop Chandler.
I would definitely drop Chandler. Yeah. I think that's a pretty good number. I wonder if guys are dropping Blake Corum already. That is kind of weird. Like, of all the times to not drop him would be before, like, you get to see him in week 1 after you drafted him.
Again, I'm trying to project forward. If, say, Kyron gets banged up week 1 or Blake Corum has a bigger role, then how much is Blake Corum going for?
That's what that's what I was leading to, by the way, to say, depending on what the league, I might go a little bit more hardcore on that. I thought 25 was aggressive, but if you think it can be more, then I would agree to bump it up. I think week 1, I think the first 2 weeks are weird for people. No one has a good feel for like what they should and want to spend, and everyone's got big old pocketbooks. Like I went nuts. Like, I remember last year, this is a little bit of a humble brag, but after week 1, in a couple leagues that we had, me and Bogman were sharing this one for a pentathlon. It's a big industry league. And I dropped the hammer for Puka Nacua. Obviously worked out. I dropped like 60% of the budget, and his brain was like, yo, what are we doing? I'm like, just you trust, we have to do this. And it obviously ended up working out. But I think people have bigger pocketbooks in that week one. For a guy like Corum to be out there, 25 might be the average rate. And if that's what you came up with, I feel like you should go a little bit higher. Unless it's a bunch of doofs, which they dropped Corum, so maybe it is a bunch of doofs in your league. But if not, maybe it's 30 to 35%. Not just to protect yourself, well, really to protect yourself because you have Kyron, but also Corum might have standalone value as well. So DeAndre Swift or David Montgomery week one?
David Montgomery.
Waiver pickup. Would you rather have Luke McCaffrey or Ben Sinnott? A lot of negative McCaffrey stuff leading into this first week. There was all this positive stuff.
I think I would rather pick up. Man, this one's tough. I think I'm going to do Luke McCaffrey.
I'm going Luke McCaffrey too. So this Sinnott was still third on the depth chart, whatever. But you and I have been Team Zach Ertz. Especially you pushed me into Team Zach Ertz. So I have a lot of shares that he might get that early run. I would go on the side of the guy that can maybe be the slot receiver instead of the guy that's not even the starting tight end yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just weird that they trade Dotson and then the follow-up post is, oh yeah, by the way, Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver 4 on our depth chart.
We hate him, by the way. He might not even
seems weird that they would immediately denounce him after they trade away one of their receivers who was also playing in the slot versus, hey, now he has an opportunity to compete for the starting slot role. So I think that is kind of weird. And because Jim Nagy has talked about how this year's Puka Nacua is Luke McCaffrey. Well, we all know what Puka Nacua did in week one. So let's just ride the wave. Make sure you have Luke McCaffrey stashed in case he does have a Puka-esque week one against the Bucs.
I have a ton of shares of him because also if it doesn't work out, you can cut bait. He's free. He's at the end of drafts. I've taken him pretty much in every spot that I can. And I might be wrong, but it was last couple picks. It's no harm. All right, let's do this last one here. Let's go to Robert. Robert says, flex spot, Zach Moss, Brandon Ayuk, Brian Robinson, Devin Singletary. These are the options for, I'm assuming, just one flex spot. What say you, Erickson? Can you not start Ayuk week one because of he hasn't had a salad or treadmill and didn't play in the preseason? Man. He looks fine, by the way. The amount of, by the way, I mean, I'm not making anything. The amount of weight concern people have had on players, especially wide receivers this year, through the roof. Keenan Allen, they're like, oh my gosh, he's 1,200 pounds and he can't run. And he looks fine. He looks great. Brandon Ayuk, he looks a little thicker than Debo this year, but he's fine. He's a blocking receiver too. Are you going to sit Brandon Ayuk? I filibustered there for a little bit for you.
I don't think so.
You're going to sit Ayuk week one?
No, I don't. I said I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Again, it's tough, with these receivers sometimes because they are very boomer busty. Especially with the 49ers when they pick their flavor of the week and who's going to be the guy that has the massive game. But if you try to get cute, then you miss out on the massive games when you bench him. So I think I'll just roll. Unless, again, this is a situation where you just want to lock in floor and you don't care about missing out on a big spike week from Ayuk, then I think one of the running backs, Devin Singletary, you can lock in 10 points. He's going to get enough work where he'll get 10 points, especially against the Vikings. So, yeah, again, going back to the conversation we had earlier with a lot of these receivers, it's the ceiling you're chasing, but what's the floor versus these running backs with projectable volume for week one. We get concerned about guys with projectable volume over the season long, but for week one, it's going to be the Singletary show. We feel pretty confident it's not going to be Tyrone Tracy. These other guys are not going to play that much. So, if you want the ceiling, I'll go with Ayuk, but if you just want to lock in 10 points, Singletary.
And that might be on your roster construction. Hey, just like we put on our account here, if we didn't get to your question, you can leave us a comment on this video. We're going to try to get back to them. We got Debro been manning the chat. We're going to go back. We're going to be answering questions on this video chat. So make sure drop it below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Put on notifications because you might not even know when all the cool stuff is going to go live. We've got the best on-demand fantasy videos coming out every single week. We've got tons of live streams. So leave a comment here. We'll try to answer it. And you also have the ability to go over to our Discord, fantasypros.com/chat. It's free. There's plenty of rooms that are free. You can talk with an awesome community, and you can jump up into the premium side for a little bit more, have access to everything. You can check out all the podcasts that we're doing, the ones I've got. Erickson and I are going to be back again on Thursday for the Extra Point, where we're literally going to be inviting fans, not just to put it in chat, to come on and talk with us. so you can do that over on the Discord. And finally, make week 1 even easier by using my playbook. Manage every platform from one app right there. It says it, whether you're using the trade analyzer, the waiver assistant, you've got multi-league assistant where you can set your lineups across multiple leagues and tons more. Go to the App Store right now. Don't end the stream, but go right now and download my playbook. Do it today. Friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us. An insane amount of people, an insane amount of questions. I had a blast. I hope you guys did too. Hopefully we helped you get set for this broadcast for all of the week. We got a ton more, so make sure you're locked in on the podcast and the YouTube side. Andrew Erickson _ on the X. You can find me at IsItTheWelsh. Thank you to Sal, and thank you to you. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Peace out, friends. Bye-bye.